dry, and then those scattered thunderstorms start popping up in the afternoon. Today is no different. We'll warm up to around 90. Watching for those scattered storms for the afternoon and evening. And once again, some of those storms around the lake could be slow movers. Could drop a lot of rain, could bring some flash flooding concern to some areas. Although our rain chance does start to come down a bit by Friday and as we go into the upcoming weekend. Temperature still hot. That's your forecast. From the WSIC Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Chase Myers.
Make a splash this summer with the Harbor Hippos. Opening day is May 30th, and it's going to be a blast. Season, group, or single tickets are now available. Join us at Huntersville Athletic Park. Get all the details at www.harborhippos.com. It's time to play ball.
Swing for hope at the Next Chapter Station Golf Classic on September 22nd at the 500 Club in Statesville to help bring hope and comfort to children fighting cancer. Your support helps us deliver the book Luke and the Lost Bell to 1,000 hospitals. For more information, visit nextchapterstation.org.
The following is a paid program and does not necessarily reflect the views of WSIC.
Hello and welcome to Dollars and Cents, presented by North Main Financial. I'm your host, Joshua Dobi. Thank you so much for hanging with us here, 4 o'clock on a Thursday. If you're a 9-to-5er, you got 53 minutes, 24 seconds until we get to that 5 o'clock bell. And I appreciate so much you spending that time with us here as we're giving attention to all things economic and financial. Here on Dollars and Cents, you probably knew that from the name of the show. Still going to tell you, just in case you're a first-time listener, that's the kind of thing that we're talking about here. We're looking at things that are happening globally, right? The different countries, different economic structures impacting us, the kinds of things that are happening in our world, but we also seek to break it down to an individual level, taking a look at the kinds of things that we hope are applicable to you, your situation, the kinds of decisions that you're making to make sure that your financial picture and your financial journey is the way that you want it to be. But in doing so, you remember as a previous listener to Dollars and Cents here that nothing that we're talking about is intended as a specific recommendation for you, meaning that everybody's in a different financial space. Everybody has their own journey that they're walking right now. Some people are in a space that they want to be. Other people are in a space that they don't want to be. There are different decisions to make always for that kind of stuff. Again, in doing so, nothing here is intended as a specific recommendation for you. We strongly, strongly recommend that you reach out to your tax advisor or your financial advisor, or if you'd like to reach out to us at North Main Financial Group, love to hear from you. Love to chat about your particular financial situation, see if there are ways in which we might be able to be helpful to you. Online, you can find us at northmainfinancial.com. That's north like the direction, Main like the street, financial.com. northmainfinancial.com. We have a contact page on there. Leave us an email address or a phone number. And if you leave a phone number, we're getting more of this kind of stuff. My staff told me I have to say this more often. If you're leaving us a phone number and you prefer to be texted instead of called, then just let us know that. Say, hey, text on this number. That's just the way that I communicate. No problem at all. Just let us know that whenever you're leaving us your information. Online again at northmainfinancial.com. Well, I appreciate so much you hang with us, folks, here on the 4 o'clock hour, here on WSIC, on Dollars and Cents, as we're talking about all things economic and financial. I know I say this every week. I feel like there was a time that I came on the show here, and I didn't say that, boy, there's a lot happening this week. And maybe there was, and I just didn't say it, but my goodness, there's been a lot happening this week. You heard me talk about it in last week's show, if you were listening, which I hope you were listening to last week's show, that we were talking about the budget and spending bill that made its way through Congress, hit the president's desk actually on the holiday. So on Friday the 4th, hit his desk, he signed it, ceremony there in the Oval Office. A whole collection of things that were included in there. And I've heard some things, just relative to commentary that are somewhat true, some that are mostly true, some that I don't think are true at all, in terms of what actually is included in the bill. By the way, if you're wondering, 944 pages is the full extent of the bill, assuming that they didn't start using large type print in order to make a few more pages there, which is entirely possible, but the version that I looked at was 944 pages of that. So if you're having a little bit of insomnia and you want to work your way through that bill and you want to take a look at the couple of thousand of provisions that were included in that bill, you can do it. But I want to touch on just a couple of points very quickly. And we're going to be doing this actually in next week's show. So I want to tee that up a little bit for next week because we're going to be looking at some other things this week. But definitely for next week's show, going to be looking at some of the nuances of the bill. And because I'm getting a lot of questions on taxation, estate planning, all very appropriate kinds of things relative to what came through there. What I can say is generally speaking, so let me just put this out there in broad form, just so that you can have it. Those tax cuts that were put into place in 2017, by and large, So the first iteration of this bill, and one of the reasons that it's been brought up in the ways that it has is because a lot of those tax cuts that were put into place in 2017 had a sunset provision, or meaning that they were going to expire at the end of this year, 2025. Now, the reason that again, a lot of it was wanting to be addressed is because there was intention by this president and by this Congress to be able to extend and even make permanent some of those tax provisions. In short, that is what has happened. Now, it hasn't happened without caveats, and that's why I literally need probably a whole show to go through all the caveats associated with it. And of course, everybody's going to have a different circumstance. That's not going to be covered what I'm talking about. I know it's not going to be comprehensive. I'll tell you that in advance. But definitely want to touch on some of those more significant points there for what the majority of folks are going to need to keep in mind. But generally speaking, the cuts that were put into place, tax cut wise, that were put into place there in the 2017 bill, largely have been extended and in some cases made even permanent with this last tax bill. So just got to keep your eyes open for that little teaser for next week. Want you to hang around. Want you to make sure that that you're tuning in to next week's show as well, which I know you're going to anyhow, right? You had that on your calendar. You put it on there to make sure Thursdays at 4 o'clock here on WSIC. I hope so. And certainly we hope to bring you something of value. But as we're looking at just overall where things are and some of the things we're going to be talking about in today's show, a lot going on. It just is. And again, I feel like that's probably always been true, but it certainly feels like the case here. So we had the bill that was passed through Congress last week. A number of other things that have percolated through the system just in the last several days here. We're going to be talking about them in the future segments on this show for today's broadcast. But when looking at things here and looking at just where the overall market has been, I have to say, folks, and I'm teasing this up a little bit. I'll tell you that in advance. We're going to talk more markets in the fourth quarter of today's show, Football Reference, in understanding what's happening market-wise out there right now. But the markets have been largely nonplussed. They really have. I mean, if you look at the reactions to the bill moving through Congress, additional trade deals that have been announced. We had a big one announced with Vietnam last week relative to the tariff aspect of things. We just got word from the Oval Office here about 36 hours ago. There's going to be a 50% tariff on possible tariff on copper. That was new. That I'll raise my hand. I wasn't expecting that on my bingo card in terms of what was coming next. And so those kinds of things from a planning standpoint are going to move the needle a little bit. They're definitely going to shift the focus. So there was a white paper that came out from JP Morgan Chase relative to what the impact of a 50% tariff on copper would mean for the industry, what companies to consider, and all that's all important, all very important when we're looking at what's happening market-wise and the kinds of things to which we should pay attention with your portfolio. But you've heard me say this. I'm going to say it in the fourth quarter of today's show as well. I promise you that when we're looking at these kinds of things, your plan should be flexible enough to allow for the accommodation of these kinds of things that arise that are unexpected. I know, 10-cent phrase. Let me break it down real quick. Your plan should be ready for whatever happens. Really should. And it's not that we can predict everything that's going to happen. I'm not saying that at all. But what I am saying is your plan should be malleable enough, should be flexible enough. There should be enough financial flexibility inside of your plan to allow for the things that you don't expect. And that's certainly what we're seeing right now. I mean, whether you're talking about the budget and spending bill that passed, whether you're talking about tariffs, whether you're talking about whether the Federal Reserve is going to increase rates or not later on this year, certainly the markets are indicating that they still think, which the Federal Reserve board president chair basically said was going to happen. We're going to have a rate cut at some point later on this year, which I thought was very interesting that he said that on his congressional testimony here over the last week. Your plan should be flexible enough to accommodate that. And that's really what's most important here. We're going to talk about that a little bit later in today's show. But folks, you know that's a very important part of the planning process when we're looking at what makes a strong plan, what allows it to move through the inevitable ebbs and flows, the highs and lows of the market. And we've had an amazing run here. We're going to be talking about that in the fourth quarter as well. I mean, it's pretty unbelievable. You take a look at the indexes. My gosh. Second quarter statements, a lot better than the first ones, I think, for a lot of folks, especially if they were tracking the market. But we'll talk more about that here in a little while. Before then, we're going to hear from our sponsors. Hang with us here as we do. We're going to be coming back in a few moments here on WSIC.
Make no mistake.
Did you say steak?
We'll be back to talk more finances and food on Dollars and Cents, presented by North Main Financial on WSIC. Local starts here.
You know, it's just like clockwork in summertime. The morning, midday hours are dry, and then those scattered thunderstorms start popping up in the afternoon. Today is no different. We'll warm up to around 90. Watching for those scattered storms for the afternoon and evening. And once again, some of those storms around the lake could be slow movers. Could drop a lot of rain, could bring some flash flooding concern to some areas. Although our rain chance does start to come down a bit by Friday and as we go into the upcoming weekend. Temperature still hot. That's your forecast. From the WSIC Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Chase Myers.
Here's your WSIC community calendar. Thursday, July 10th, the Langtree Live Outdoor Concert Series returns. Groove Skeletons make their Langtree debut. In 2024, they finished second in the Battle of the Bands and now bring their indie rock and fun stage presence to Exit 31 off I-77. Groove Skeletons play at 7 p.m. on Thursday in Mooresville at Langtree Live. Friday night at Brookdale Village in Huntersville is Live Under the Oaks. The Village stage welcomes the music of Joseph Gallo. Gallo is a pop and rock artist whose performance will get you to sing and dance along. Grab your lawn chairs and your blankets for the free show on the plaza. Brookdale restaurants will be open for dinner, and Red Rocks will be on site at the stage for beverages. We'll see you Friday night at 6 p.m. for the Joseph Gallo Show at Brookdale Village in Huntersville. The 500 Club in Statesville presents live music on Saturday with a performance by Caleb Davis. Davis is a graduate of the Berklee College of Music and plays his original songs and covers many genres from the 40s to today. Don't miss this 6 p.m. show. Visit the 500 Club online for more information on entertainment, food, beverages, and tea times. Bin 110 in Cornelius has live music Thursday, Friday, and Saturday nights. Pluto for Planet Duo plays on Thursday, July 10th. John Sullivan on Friday, and Hey Ladies on Saturday. Bin 110 offers a large selection of whiskeys, wines, cocktails, and small plates. Drinks, eats, and live music are yours at Bin 110 this weekend. The Cookout Summer Shootout Series is at Charlotte Motor Speedway for round number 8 on Tuesday, July 15th, when Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts get in free. Click on charlottemotorspeedway.com for more information on the Summer Shootout and other 2025 events. To keep up with all the events happening around the community and much more, including amazing local deals, download the WSIC News app today.
Glow IV Spa. Wellness delivered. Recharge fast with Glow IV Spa. Lake Norman's mobile vitamin therapy. Boost your energy, immunity, and glow with IV drips delivered to your door. Book now at glowivspa.com.
From market trends to retirement plans, Joshua Dobi has you covered. We're back with more Dollars and Cents presented by North Main Financial on WSIC. Local starts here.
Hello, and welcome back to Dollars and Cents presented by North Main Financial. I'm your host, Joshua Dobi. Thank you so much for hanging with us here. Second quarter of today's show, football reference. You know we like to talk. We do. We talk sports on here because we like to talk about things that begin with the letter F. And we usually now don't get carried away. I don't want to hear about anybody from the SEC or anybody calling it. This is a G-rated show, no matter what. We absolutely finance, right? First one, football, which we're going to talk about here in a minute, and probably food. Chances are, you hear maybe talk about it in the interlude there between each segment that steak, we like to talk about steak. We talked about steak here about a week ago when we were talking about July 4th and the number of millions of pounds of red meat that we as a country buy. Remember that? Remember what those numbers were, Producer Reese? I do. Remember 180 million hot dogs?
Right.
180 million.
350 million
Hamburgers. You know what that's an excellent memory. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
For July 4th, it's not like for a week or maybe for the summer season or anything.
I wonder if a report came out for this. This
year. I'm looking for it. So because that was the projection based upon historical buying tendencies.
Okay.
That's what was going to happen. I have not seen the post July 4th report. I'm looking for it. And if you are out there, 844-STUDIO-4, make sure you call in and let us know.
Tell us.
and or you could say, like, how many hamburgers did you consume?
Right.
Or maybe, and Producer Reese, I don't know if you saw this, but it was on in the background. I wasn't watching it very closely, but the annual hot dog eating contest on Coney Island.
Ooh.
Did you see? I didn't
watch it.
Okay.
But you're going to be so proud of me.
Go ahead.
Because guess what I had on July 4th?
I hope you had a hot dog and a hamburger.
I had 2 hot dogs.
See, that's what I'm talking about. That's why we had 180 million hot dogs consumed on July 4th.
Hot
you had your 2.
And chips.
Oh, see.
That's like the American staple.
It pretty much is. If you have that and a glass of lemonade, I think maybe a sliced apple pie. That's about all you could do to be an American right there. All the, all the way around. So again, we're going to be talking about those kinds of things here, but producer Reese is always so good to me because here on the second segment, we talk a little football. And if you want to tell me that football is not financial or economic, go ahead and take a look at the balance sheet. Can't really. You only have to make some suppositions based upon what's publicly available. But if you go ahead and take a look at the balance sheet for the NFL, we're not talking about millions. We're talking about billions with a B. Billions. The most powerful and financially lucrative large sports entity here in the country. It's not like football with a U in other countries or F1 or anything like that, which also is incredibly lucrative in other countries. Here in the U.S., it's the NFL. There's no doubt about it. So in case you're wondering, because we do this here, and producer Reese is always so good about putting it up on the screen during the second quarter segment, 55 days, 7 hours, 38 minutes, 51 seconds until kickoff. Until you know what we really should say, because you and I figured this out mathematically last week, it's until the day of the first game, because it's a little bit of, and I'll admit, because you said I want to know when the foot hits the ball, right? The foot hits the ball off the tee. Yeah, we did the math, and no, that gets us to midnight.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that would be something.
I mean, that would be pretty impressive. But we know that TV contracts they're always fluctuating. Maybe it's going to be 6 o'clock or 8 o'clock, and I appreciate that as well on that. So again, 55 minutes, 7 hours, 38 minutes, and 15 seconds now until we get to the day.
You think the
kickoff.
NFL is scripted like some people?
Oh, don't say that, producer. No.
Because I don't think so.
Well, we're good. Because
I don't think so.
But now you put that out there to the millions of listeners that we have here listening to Dollars and Cents, and now the people are going to say, "Well, I wonder if the NFL is scripted as well." I hope no, it's not. Absolutely not. These are highly paid professionals playing a very skilled game. No, I will not go there.
I think sometimes the referee calling can be a little bit questionable.
Producer Reese,
but
that's
other
because
than that,
we're all human. We're all human, right?
Yeah, that's true.
We
all make mistakes.
We make mistakes. That's part of the humanness of the game. It's one of the reasons why, sidebar, I really don't like these replays for the baseball season, the Major League Baseball season, where we're second guessing the strike zone. I don't like that.
Yeah, keep the strike zone.
Either let's have a robot, let's have AI do it, right? Or let's have the umpire, but not both. Oh no, that's just me. That's okay. 844 Studio 4. You agree, disagree? Don't call in and say you disagree. We're just talking here a little bit about football, as we like to do some anecdotal kinds of things here. And we're talking about all things financial and economic. I mean, otherwise, what you're going to get, you're going to get Federal Reserve Board updates about 40% of the time, 60% of the time. You're going to get 10 Qs and 10 Ks coming out from companies. And I mean, unless you're suffering from insomnia, at a certain point, you're going to doze off. A good preacher knows that as well. Right, a good preacher. First of all, never more than 3 points in a sermon. Secondly, you got to put a little bit personal story in there as well in order to make it connective. When that's what we do here on Dollars and Cents. So thank you so much for hanging with us here into the second quarter of today's show. We are talking a little bit, just as we were going into break there, about what we're experiencing market-wise right now. We're going to be talking about that a little bit more in the fourth quarter, but we really do have to decide. We're going through some pretty seismic, some pretty large-scale kinds of economic movements here, whether we're talking about the spending bill, whether we're talking about tariffs, whether we're talking about the Federal Reserve increasing or decreasing rates. And folks, I mean, you know this. I mean, if you're watching the markets at all here over the last several weeks now coming into a couple of months, the market, again, has been largely nonplussed. It has really not had any particular motivation in one way or another. Now, if you're a more conservative person like me and you're looking at that kind of movement, and we had the sharp movements in the negative direction, and then, frankly, the bounce back positive in just a couple of weeks there in late March, early April, then your mind goes to this 30 years of doing this, which is amazing because I'm 32 years old, of doing this. Not true, not even close. That I've been doing this, that watching that we're probably going to have some kind of revisit of that low. And probably it's going to be sooner rather than later. Usually it's within 6 or 7 months of when that kind of thing happens. And I'm not saying that means that we're going to have a summer swoon or that there are red light kinds of items sitting out there economically. It's just common that when we have that kind of sharp down, sharp up kind of movement in a very short amount of time, that the market wants to retest those lows. Hasn't happened yet. Usually happens within 6 to 7 months of that occurrence happening. That's why it's on our radar screen. We'll certainly bring it to you as we see it out there, but we're teeing that up a little bit because we want you to be aware of it and understand a little bit of market history as well. All right, got to bring up this company, and I got it, and I'm doing it in the context of being in the second quarter here, talking football here a little bit. Electronic Arts, EA, Edward Alpha, not a recommendation to buy, sell, or hold the stock or the debt relative to this company, has come out with, and this was after a little bit of a hiatus, which is, and I'll admit, I'm not a video guy, video game guy, excuse me. So I'm not playing a lot of video games. I wasn't aware of this. I'm obviously aware from a sports perspective, also from EA, about the John Madden series, or the John Madden collection of video games for professional football, but I wasn't aware of the one for college football. They've been on a little bit of a hiatus here for the last several years. Well, it's back. And in part, and I think this actually dovetails a little bit into a previous topic we've had here on Dollars and Cents, talking about NIL contracts, or the compensation elements for let's say non-professional, can't really say that anymore. Let's say for those who are not in the NFL, or not in the NBA, or not in Major League Baseball, but the compensation of largely for high school and college athletes, NIL, name, image, likeness, or some other variations of compensation, really that put a damper on a lot of the video game production for several years, because that was one of the primary, I would say that, I think I could say that with some legitimacy, that was one of the primary motivators for the collection of lawsuits that were made class action at a certain point about the use of name, image, likeness of certain players on video games or on shirts. And of course, the incredibly lucrative business that was and is for the university and for everybody, frankly, except for the player. And so I think that's why it was on pause here. But Electronic Arts came out with their next version, College Football 26, and kind of interesting when you're looking at that kind of thing. And this again, not a recommendation. I'm not pushing the video game or anything like that, but just kind of interesting that we went from a space where there was some allusion to certain players in the college arena to now. My understanding is you go on the video game, you actually see the names across the backs of the jerseys now. So you can actually tell which player it is. So if it's the LSU quarterback or the running back from Georgia or whatever it may be, the defensive end from Notre Dame, it's going to be on there. You're going to actually see the name, because that person, that gentleman or that young lady is being compensated for their name, image, and likeness being used on the video game. So very, very interesting. It's going to be interesting to see what the sales strength of that kind of thing is, because, and it was a very good point. This was raised, I want to say it was in the New York Times. Let me give proper description here when I'm thinking about it. I believe it was in the New York Times. If it wasn't, it'd be the Wall Street Journal. And I apologize to both publications for the one that I am intoning incorrectly here. But really what it was talking about the next generation of fans for professional football, professional basketball, professional baseball, hockey, soccer, etc. And talking about the next generation of fans and how so many of them, in so many ways, are introduced and perhaps even captivated, continue to be a fan of that particular sport through video games. And that's just different from my end of the world. And that doesn't make it right or wrong, good or bad. It's just different from my end of the world when, we grew up on things like flipping trading cards. And for those of you who don't know what trading cards are, you talk about name, image, and likeness. But they were name, image, and likeness on a piece of colored cardboard, right, with some stats on the back of it. And we used to flip them in order to win or not win, and trade cards, for the ones that we didn't have, kind of thing. And that, and basically watching the games on the weekend on network television, that was really it. Well, that's just not the case anymore. Now we have video game opportunities, which are prolific. I mean, they are real to life in terms of what you can experience. Now we have not just the weekend games, folks. You know this as well. It's 24/7. It's every single day that you can find some sports game on some channel. We got the Wimbledon Tennis Championships right now, and if you miss them, there's probably only a replay on about every hour for the 24 hours of the day. It's unbelievable. And then beyond that, we got streaming. Beyond that, so right on your phone, you subscribe to certain services. You can watch the game live. You can watch it recorded. You can watch commentary about the game either before it happens or after it happens. Amazing in terms of our consumption of entertainment. Speaking to sports here in terms of how it goes together. But there's a whole lot of movement, especially among these entertainment providers, and let's call them content curators, about who makes money on it. Because it's real. If you're the one holding the content, at least at this point, you are king or queen. There's no doubt about it. If you're the distributor, they're a little bit tougher to make money because there are a lot of other options out there for folks to consider. We're going to keep watching it, though. Keep bringing it to you, especially if the trends change here on Dollars and Cents. Appreciate you hanging with us. Coming back on WSIC.
Make no mistake,
Did you say steak?
We'll be back to talk more finances and food on Dollars and Cents, presented by North Main Financial on WSIC. Local starts here.
You know, it's just like clockwork in summertime. The morning, midday hours are dry, and then those scattered thunderstorms start popping up in the afternoon. Today is no different. We'll warm up to around 90. Watching for those scattered storms for the afternoon and evening. And once again, some of those storms around the lake could be slow movers. Could drop a lot of rain, could bring some flash flooding concern to some areas. Although our rain chance does start to come down a bit by Friday and as we go into the upcoming weekend. Temperature still hot. That's your forecast. From the WSIC Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Chase Myers.
Hi, this is Bob McIntosh with the McIntosh Law Firm in Davidson. Since 1997, we have been committed to providing our clients with competent, caring, and experienced legal services. Learn more at McIntoshLawFirm.com.
Start your engines! NASCAR is back this weekend. Catch all the high-speed action this Sunday at 3:30 p.m. live from Sonoma Raceway for the Toyota Save Mart 350. Don't miss a lap. Tune in to Lake Norman's home for NASCAR, WSIC.
With 5 area locations, Desco is your go-to resource for electrical supplies. Albemarle, Mooresville, Salisbury, Statesville, and Lexington. No matter where the job takes you, you're sure to be close to a Desco. Shop now at DescoInc.com.
Harrison's is the home of Work Western, and wow! For nearly 30 years, our family has been boots on the ground when it comes to work. We have the largest selection of in-stock boots in the Carolinas and the best workwear brands like Harriet, Carhartt, and Wrangler. Find us on Norman Station Boulevard in Mooresville.
Lowry Drug is a source for excellent pharmacy services. We have served the Statesville community since 1959. We have attentive customer service, a state-of-the-art compounding laboratory, and the Dispill medication packaging system that takes the work out of medication management for those using medication planners. We do it for you. Come see us at Lowry Drug in Statesville. Call 704-873-2247. Come see us.
Hey folks, you know Randy Marion is the king of price when it comes to buying a new vehicle or a premium vehicle, but how about king of price when it comes to the service department? Randy Marion Chevrolet in Statesville, Randy Marion Ford Lincoln in Statesville has you covered on tires, brakes, batteries, wipers, you name it. Any service you need on your vehicle, regardless of the make or model, come see Randy Marion Chevrolet in Statesville Service Department or Randy Marion Ford Lincoln Service Department today.
Prioritizing your health is one of the best ways to take care of yourself. From routine visits to the joys of pregnancy to the illnesses that stop you in your tracks, Iredell Health System will be by your side. Learn more at iredellhealth.org.
This is Sheriff Darren Campbell with the Iredell County Sheriff's Office. Every day, scammers are targeting people right here in our community through phone calls, emails, and text messages, trying to steal your money, your personal information, and even your identity. If someone calls claiming to be from a government, a bank, or even law enforcement demanding money or personal details, stop and think. Legitimate organizations will never ask for gift cards, wire transfers, or your passwords over the phone or email. If something sounds too good to be true, it usually is. Hang up, don't click that link, and never share personal information with someone you don't trust. At the Iredell County Sheriff's Office, we're working to protect our community, and we're proud to partner with WSIC because local starts here, and keeping you informed keeps you safe. Stay alert, stay smart, and don't fall for a scam.
Sit, stay, Zoom! Zoom Room in Huntersville is where tails wag and people learn. We're an all-positive indoor training gym offering classes for every age, puppy preschool, agility, tricks, and more. Visit zoomroom.com/Huntersville and let's train together.
No radio? No worries.
Just ask Alexa to play WSIC.
This is a Bloomberg Money Minute. Kellogg shares are soaring today on the news the maker of Frosted Flakes and Fruit Loops is being bought by Italian candy maker Ferrero for about $3 billion. It expands Ferrero beyond its chocolate lineup, including Nutella and other foods. It also gives it a better foothold in the U.S. market. Apple is planning an ambitious pipeline of new products for release during the first half of 2026, including a new low-end iPhone, multiple iPads, and upgraded Macs. The new products are part of a push to get back to more consistent revenue growth following this fall's iPhone launch. The original Birkin bag, made by Hermes, now has a new owner. The black leather handbag was made some 40 years ago for the late singer and actress Jane Birkin and was sold today for $10 million in a bidding war that lasted more than 10 minutes at Sotheby's in Paris. Stocks today are up between 0.1%. I'm Nancy Lyons, Bloomberg Radio.
Who is this? This is 105.9 100.7.
WSIC. Local starts here.
From market trends to retirement plans, Joshua Dobi has you covered. We're back with more Dollars and Cents presented by North Main Financial on WSIC. Local starts here.
Hello and welcome back to Dollars and Cents presented by North Main Financial. I'm your host, Joshua Dobi. Thank you so much for hanging with us here. Second half of today's show, Football Reference, 24 minutes and 10 seconds until we get to that 5 o'clock hour. And I appreciate so much you spending that time with us here. We're giving attention to all things economic and financial. We even talked a little football. Don't tell me that football isn't about finances. I mean, when you're talking with billions of dollars here, you're absolutely talking football. We talked about the ways in which we consume our entertainment, the differences here over the last, I want to say 30 years, but shoot, over the last several years in terms of how we consume our entertainment, the number of folks who literally use their smartphone for anything. I mean, they don't have television. They don't even, a lot of folks don't even have computers anymore, but everything they're consuming is right over the smartphone. They're huge, huge business. And while we're talking football, producer Reese reminded me at the break, they're very appropriately so, that our beloved Carolina Panthers, and I absolutely believe that, and I am one who is a part of the beloved Carolina Panthers fan club, are continuing to be 1 week later, as of this moment, in exactly the same space of opportunity to win the Super Bowl as every single other NFL team right now. Nobody can dispute it. There's nobody. You can't come in here and tell me that anybody's starting out ahead of the game.
No.
And
it's going to be like that for a while.
Which I love, which is why we will say it every single week.
Right.
Until it's not true. And then after it's not true, we will pretend like we never said it.
But maybe it might be true for the whole season. Who knows?
See, that's a fan. That's what I'm talking about, producer Reese. That's a fan. Exactly right. It may indeed be not only for the whole season, but the postseason and right up into and including the Super Bowl. I'm with you. See, that's what I'm talking. That's faith. We're not getting off the bus now. We've ridden it this far. We're going to ride it all the way through.
Yeah. I've been here for 21 years.
Yeah.
I ain't switching up.
You're not going now. You're not switching now. I like to hear that. Well, anyhow, so we're going to watch them and our beloved Panthers. We're pulling for you. Let's go. Let's make it happen.
I remember when the Charlotte Hornets were the Charlotte Bobcats.
Oh my gosh.
Remember that?
You're showing your age here a little bit now, producer Reese. I mean, I know you threw out that 21-year figure there, but you got to be a little bit older to remember the Charlotte Bobcats.
Yeah.
So, by any rate, appreciate you hanging with us here, folks. Into the second half of today's show, talking on all things markets, and certainly when we're talking football there from a financial standpoint, got to talk a little food here. Mamie said we would in the break, in terms of things that are happening in the food universe. A little bit anecdotal. Want to talk about what's happening out there. And they talked about this on Good Morning LKN as well, which, by the way, if you're not listening to Good Morning LKN, 7 to 9, Monday to Friday, Justin, Bill, and Mamie there, they're talking about all kinds of things, important, thought-provoking kinds of things. Might even make you chuckle as well. So make sure you're tuning into them. 7 and 9 again in the morning there. That morning drive to work sort of time frame here on WSIC. But they mentioned here, and I definitely want to mention it as well. It was on my notes here. They didn't steal the thunder. I'm just going to reiterate it because it's important, right? Especially with this kind of ubiquitous name in the cereal and candy end of things. I'm going to start out with a name you may not recognize. Privately held company, Italian company owned by a single family in Italy, Ferraro. And we announced this, well, I never really came out. It really was about 6 months ago, give or take, whenever they announced it. But now it's going to come to fruition here probably within the next 30 days or so. Looking at Ferraro buying out WK Kellogg. So if you recall the old Kellogg's company, it was a conglomerate, right? They had a snacks division, they had a cereal division, they had a candy division. They had a whole lot going on there as far as the number of things that they were producing food-wise. Had a number of several spinoffs actually. This is with regards to the WK Kellogg end of things, which, by the way, publicly traded company, ticker symbol Kelly Larry Green, KLG, not a recommendation to buy, sell, or hold the stock. This is the cereal end of things. So when you're thinking cereal end of things, you're thinking Frosted Flakes and Fruit Loops, those Kellogg's brands that are probably, again, very, very popular to you, or at least you're aware of them, even if you're not a buyer of those kinds of things. $3 billion deal for WK Kellogg. And again, largely expected by the market, but the stock price really didn't reflect that. And I think maybe because of the due diligence, maybe because of other antitrust issues or things along those lines, that but the stock has shot up today. It's one of the top performers, if not the top performer, before I came online here. And again, $3 billion buyout of WK Kellogg, one of the reasons why that's important as well, in addition to the name and notoriety. Current market cap at WK Kellogg is about $1.5 billion, about half that amount. I think that's part of the reason why the stock took off. And again, a lot that had to happen in order for that to get closer to fruition. Looks like we're there now. Ferraro, which, by the way, if you don't know Ferraro, they actually own a couple of labels here in the U.S. that probably are very familiar to you, in addition to their namesake chocolates, which I've had here in the U.S., but also they are the owners of labels like Butterfinger. Yeah, I like Butterfinger. Baby Ruth, yep, like those too. You can find those in the grocery store aisle on the way out of things. Ferraro owns those as well. And again, they're making a move to get into the more of the cereal, broadening their scope of products offered, and getting into that end of things. Now, I had this question come up, and I know we're talking about it relative to the morning show on Good Morning LKN as well. Now, a separate company that was part of the old Kellogg's but spun off from Kellogg's, which is now called Kellanova, actually not called Kellanova anymore because they've been bought out. They were under the ticker symbol K, as in Kelly. They were sold to Mars, another private company. Mars, the candy company. Skittles, right? I mean, that end of the universe, Kellanova was sold to them. Much larger deal for that end of things. Mars bought Kellanova, the candy business, for about $30 billion, $30 billion instead of $3 billion. Huge buyout, especially for a company like Mars, which has been, it's been private forever and not as, let's say, they're just not very public. There's just not a whole lot you can find about them. But that's a separate deal. That one is also moving to fruition as well, but entirely separate from what we're talking about here with Ferrara buying of WK Kellogg as well. Again, ticker symbol Kelly Larry Green, not a recommendation. Buy, sell, or hold the equity or the debt on that end of things. All right, we got to talk about food here a little bit. We're on that theme now. We're talking cereal. We're going to switch up and talk about something very correlated to that: fried chicken sandwiches. I could probably just stop right there. I could just keep saying fried chicken sandwiches on each show here on Dollars and Cents, even though I wouldn't draw it close to anything financial or economic. And I dare say our ratings might go up, Producer Reese.
I think they will.
I mean, I think that's a reasonable expectation.
I absolutely think they will.
And folks, you don't have to believe me. I'm just looking at how many fried chicken sandwiches y'all buy. And I'm not, now I'm pointing the finger. I'm pointing at myself now too. I love fried chicken. I do. And I love it if it's on a sandwich or if it's on my plate.
That's even better.
I'm trying to think of an instance here quickly as I get into this survey end of things. Trying to think of an instance quickly where I had fried chicken and said that was a bad idea. Never once has happened.
Never.
That's never been part of my experience. I'm sure it has been for certain folks, and I don't want to take away from those unpleasant experiences, but I have never personally been in a space where I've had a fried chicken sandwich or fried chicken on my plate and consumed it and said, boy, I wish I wouldn't have done that. Has not happened. Not going to happen.
I've never said that.
I've never's happened. So kind of interesting. I came across this survey. Yelp, which is the online rating, and also you can order off of Yelp as well. Get some DoorDash and other kinds of delivery services on there, and not just restaurants, but all kinds of things, contractors and other kinds of delivery services that are out there. But Yelp ran recently a survey of the best fried chicken sandwich chain. And I was looking at this and I wanted some clarity, of course. So it's only for chains that have more than 100 stores. So they have to have more than 100 stores. So these are bigger chains, right? And I'm only going to do the top three here. And I know we're getting close to the end of the segment, but I definitely got to throw these out there because I know there are going to be some heated feelings on both sides, both positive and negative. First one, Chick-fil-A. Can't argue with that here in the Southeast, based in Atlanta, Georgia.
First is Chick-fil-A?
First is Chick-fil-A. Second one, I know. Yeah, I see you raising a hand there. Second one, Dave's Hot Chicken, which I've had once. Very good. It's that whole Nashville hot chicken theme that's going on there. Third one, and my daughters love this. I've not had it yet. Raising Cane's. Interesting. I'm going to talk more about that in the fourth segment. I'm not going to leave you hanging there, but we are going to take a few moments to hear from our sponsors as we're talking about fried chicken sandwich. That's what we talk about here on Dollars and Cents. Appreciate you hanging with us. Hang with us as we hear from our sponsors for a few moments. Coming back here on WSIC.
Make no mistake.
Did you say steak?
We'll be back to talk more finances and food on Dollars and Cents, presented by North Main Financial on WSIC. Local starts here.
You know, it's just like clockwork in summertime. The morning, midday hours are dry, and then those scattered thunderstorms start popping up in the afternoon. Today is no different. We'll warm up to around 90. Watching for those scattered storms for the afternoon and evening. And once again, some of those storms around the lake could be slow movers. Could drop a lot of rain, could bring some flash flooding concern to some areas. Although our rain chance does start to come down a bit by Friday and as we go into the upcoming weekend. Temperature still hot. That's your forecast. From the WSIC Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Chase Myers.
Here is your WSIC community calendar. Thursday, July 10th, the Langtree Live Outdoor Concert Series returns. Groove Skeletons make their Langtree debut. In 2024, they finished second in the Battle of the Bands and now bring their indie rock and fun stage presence to Exit 31 off I-77. Groove Skeletons play at 7 p.m. on Thursday in Mooresville at Langtree Live. Friday night at Birkdale Village in Huntersville is Live Under the Oaks. The Village stage welcomes the music of Joseph Gallo. Gallo is a pop and rock artist whose performance will get you to sing and dance along. Grab your lawn chairs and your blankets for the free show on the plaza. Birkdale restaurants will be open for dinner, and Red Rocks will be on site at the stage for beverages. We'll see you Friday night at 6 p.m. for the Joseph Gallo Show at Birkdale Village in Huntersville. The 500 Club in Statesville presents live music on Saturday with a performance by Caleb Davis. Davis is a graduate of the Berklee College of Music and plays his original songs and covers many genres from the 40s to today. Don't miss this 6 p.m. show. Visit the 500 Club online for more information on entertainment, food, beverages, and tea times. Bin 110 in Cornelius has live music Thursday, Friday, and Saturday nights. Pluto for Planet Duo plays on Thursday, July 10th. John Sullivan on Friday, and Hey Ladies on Saturday. Bin 110 offers a large selection of whiskeys, wines, cocktails, and small plates. Drinks, eats, and live music are yours at Bin 110 this weekend. The Cookout Summer Shootout Series is at Charlotte Motor Speedway for round number 8 on Tuesday, July 15th, when Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts get in free. Click on charlottemotorspeedway.com for more information on the Summer Shootout and other 2025 events. To keep up with all the events happening around the community and much more, including amazing local deals, download the WSIC News app today.
From market trends to retirement plans, Joshua Dobi has you covered. We're back with more Dollars and Cents presented by North Main Financial on WSIC. Local starts here.
Hello and welcome back to Dollars and Cents presented by North Main Financial. I'm your host, Joshua Dobi. Thank you so much for hanging with us here. Fourth quarter of today's show, Football Reference, 11 minutes, 55 seconds until you get to that 5 o'clock bell. And I appreciate so much you hanging with us here. We're talking about all things economic, financial. We're tossing in market data. We're also tossing in some football. And we're talking about, as Mamie says during each break, talking a little bit of food. And we went there. I went with Yelp because Yelp is well known. I know that Yelp is used by millions of people, literally, whether it's with regards to looking for a particular restaurant, style of restaurant, certain ratings on a restaurant, making reservations at a restaurant. I mean, there's a lot you can do on Yelp. So certainly that's why I was bringing it up here. And again, Yelp did the survey relatively recently here over the last 90 days or so. Again, among, let's call them franchises, stores, corporations, with more than 100 stores, so more than 100 physical locations. So it's not your neighborhood joints, but those that have more than 100 stores. So I understand a little bit limited. You may have some very strong opinions about the one that's close to you that doesn't have more than 100 stores. I get it. But this is just that survey that came out from Yelp, best fried chicken sandwich chain. So I really guess I need to say that because of the number of stores involved. Best fried chicken sandwich chain. Number one, Chick-fil-A, privately held company. I mean, again, we're here in the Southeast, so, I mean, you're talking about based out of Atlanta, Georgia. I mean, I'm just going off of the lines that I see at pretty much every Chick-fil-A location about that I've ever seen. Pretty unbelievable. And by the way, they move those people through the lines as well. There's no slowing down.
I want Chick-fil-A now.
That's exactly what I'm saying, producer Reese. Anyhow, I got to study the script here. Dave's Hot Chicken, number 2. I thought that was interesting. Now, I have not had I have had Dave's Hot Chicken once, I have had it once. It's that Nashville hot chicken style, the hot oil, hot sauce on a fried chicken sandwich. Has some sweet pickles on it as well. I'm a believer. I haven't had it much, but I'm a believer. I like it a lot.
I don't really like hot things.
Okay, right. Yeah, you're not a spice guy.
Right.
I get that. But if you like spicy kinds of things, and they come out and say that they're not shy about it. They're not trying to couch it as something else. They say, it's going to be a little bit spicy for you here. So that's Dave's Hot Chicken.
They take pride in it.
They do. Now, third one. Now, you said you're a fan here, which I think is very interesting because there aren't many locations close by here. We were just looking off break that the closest one is basically about 2 hours away, 2.5 hours away, up there in Chapel Hill. Raising Cane's. And my daughters love it. So they've traveled a little bit to go see some family, and they've gone to Raising Cane's a couple of times. They love it. And very interesting that you brought up this point during the break, producer Reese. Going to bring this out here. The demographic that you said, age 20 to 25. Modern. Yeah, interesting.
Very modern demographic.
So they are tapping into a younger demographic, which usually is just a gold mine relative to those kinds of things in the food end of things. So Raising Cane's, number 3. Chick-fil-A, Dave's Hot Chicken, Raising Cane's in terms of the most popular chains that have more than 100 stores for a fried chicken sandwich. But again, as I mentioned at the front end of me talking about this, and I'll pivot here in a minute. I'm going to talk to markets. Don't get carried away. But I've never had a fried chicken sandwich that I felt was bad.
No.
Or I've never eaten a fried chicken sandwich or a piece of fried chicken and thought that was a bad idea.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah, never has happened. I don't think it'll ever happen, actually. All right, let's go. Here we go. Markets, when we're talking about what's happening out there as far as performance is concerned or particular companies are concerned. Folks, you know this. We're near all-time highs relative to the most popular stock indices that are out there. If you take a look at the S&P 500 index, you look at the NASDAQ composite, look at the Dow Jones Industrial Average, you're going to see numbers that are at or even at that are completely, meaning they're close to or are completely above the all-time highs as far as their particular metrics are concerned. Now, in doing that, you know me, I'm more conservative. I'm definitely not the fun guy at the party. I'm not saying it's going to go. I'm not that guy. I'm more conservative. I'm looking at saying, okay, well, when's the other shoe going to drop? When are we going to have, more of a regression to the mean, if you will? And also not a way to strike up a great conversation at a party. When's the regression to the mean going to happen? Nope, nobody wants to talk about that either. But we're talking about the markets. It's important for us to keep that in mind relative to what our expectations are. Because we had a very good first half of the year. I talked about that a little bit last week. A very good first half of the year. The markets, as measured by our most popular stock indices, 5-6% to the good. International markets even bigger because of the depreciation in the U.S. dollar in the first 6 months of this year. So you're going to see international holdings that are positive 10, 11, 12, 15% here in the first half of the year. So they definitely got that currency boost as far as the depreciation of the U.S. dollar is concerned. So when we're looking at that, we're looking at all-time highs in the market. What do? Well, I'm going to start out with what you shouldn't do because quote, everybody, unquote, does this. And this is what gets dangerous. Folks start thinking in straight lines. I know you're going to say, well, you say this all the time. I do say this all the time because we do it repeatedly as a market. We repeatedly look at whatever is happening, positive or negative, and we start thinking in straight lines. Right now, the market has done very, very well here over the last 6 months, except for a breather there in late March and early April, where we bounced back very, very quickly in terms of price appreciation. And again, I'm hearing the so-called experts on television and radio, and I was thinking, well, aren't you one of those? Well, I try to be. But I'm saying something a little bit different and saying that, no, markets don't move in straight lines. It's not true that we're just going to go up from here. I heard this with regards to the price of gold by a so-called gold expert here recently. I said, well, we just hit $3,300 a troy ounce here as measured on the London Exchange, and we're on our way to 4,000. Okay, I'm open to that idea. Why? And then I kept listening. I didn't hear why. All I heard was, well, it's 3,300. It's going to 4,000. Well, okay. Are you selling gold? Is that your business? And so you're just saying that without providing any substantive data to be able to support that. And I didn't hear anything. That's where it gets dangerous, folks. That's where, and I'm not saying that gold's not going to 4,000 an ounce. I'm not saying that, but I'm also saying it could go to $2,500 an ounce. Absolutely. Same with the stock market, right? We're looking at these all-time highs in some of our metrics right now. And I hear a lot of so-called experts on television and radio saying, well, it's going to go another 8% from here. Well, why? Just that's all. Ask the question. Why would it do that? What is the impetus? What is the driver? What is the powering force, which is, in your opinion, going to move it from where it is today after it has appreciated so incredibly to these points? What is going to be the powering force in order to get it from where it is today to that point? And then I also want to hear when folks say, oh, it's going to go down, it's going to be miserable, recession, not going to do. Okay, open to that idea as well. Tell me why. Tell me why you think it's going to go in that direction. And that's what you need to be asking, whether it's with regards to folks who are making those kinds of prognostications, or if it's with regards to your own portfolio, wanting to make sure that you're making decisions for the right reasons. Folks, let me say it again and again and again and again. Simply buying something because it is appreciated in value, folks, that's not investing, that's guessing. You're just doing it based upon what has already happened, not based upon what is going to happen. And isn't that why we're investing, right? We're investing for what is going to happen, not for what has already happened, even though that's what's given to us all the time. We look at the data, we look at the performance reports, we get stars next to it, Morningstar. If you're looking at it relative to what is happening, that must be a good investment. Maybe. Or maybe it's just a reflection on what has already occurred. Maybe more important is to think about where it's going. And if you do have either positive or negative inclinations about where it is going, what's your reason behind that? Is it based in any market data, any market history, any kind of understanding about how markets move? That markets move in cycles. Sometimes those cycles are elongated. Sometimes it's not just that because things go up that they have to come down. That's not necessarily the case. But it may be true that because markets have gone up, especially for a prolonged period of time, that maybe it's time for a breather. That's all I'm tossing out there, too. You just kind of keep that idea in mind, because I'm certainly not hearing that very much on any of our popular news programs right now, that the market may be primed for a breather. I guess that makes me weird or out of the realm or not. Certainly in terms of the consensus about where things are going. I'm not saying that things are going to crash. I'm not saying that things are primed for a downturn. And what I'm saying is it's not necessarily true that because markets have gone up that they're going to continue to go up. That's what's most important. And so when you set up that expectation, when you set up that kind of that space of understanding, increased awareness about how the market actually works, then your decisions become much more clear. And then you can make prudent decisions for your overall portfolio. Is it wrong to buy the hot stock? Not necessarily, or it may be horribly wrong. And I know that sounds like double talk. I don't mean for it to be that way, but it's because I want you to give the proper answer to the right question. Is the particular stock going to go up or down from here? If you're a long-term investor at a pretty high level, if it's an excellent company, the answer is it doesn't matter, because we're buying it for the long term, or we're buying it for significant future extended appreciation possibilities, not just because of what has happened here in the last 6 months, or it's the hot stock that everybody's talking about. I mean, I got tossed one out there right now, and it's only because they're on literally the front page of the Wall Street Journal here today. NVIDIA, ticker symbol Nancy Victor David Alpha, NVDA, not a recommendation. Buy, sell, or hold the equity or the debt of NVIDIA. But it literally is top story, top of fold in my Wall Street Journal today, and it's on yours as well if you happen to get it either online or if you happen to get which I hope you do, the hard copy version still at this point. NVIDIA, first company publicly traded to have a valuation of north of $4 trillion. $4 trillion. I mean, I can't quantify that. I mean, I can't think of $1 trillion, let alone $4 trillion. And by the way, it was at $2 trillion about a year ago, about $1 trillion about 2 years ago. Unbelievable kinds of appreciation that it's had here over the relative short term. So when I'm looking at that kind of thing, and I'm looking at it, it's very, very popular right now. One of the most widely held publicly traded companies out there. And again, in my opinion, with my analysis, an exceptionally well-run company. Does that mean that it's going to go from $4 trillion to $8 trillion from where it is right now? No. It's not. Now, will it eventually get to $8 trillion? Maybe. But it's not true that because it's at 4, it's going to 8. And things run in cycles, folks. I want you to keep that in mind. And that's healthy. That's actually very healthy for a market. I mean, it's going to sound a little bit weird, maybe counterintuitive if you like, that when I say the markets need to go down negatively for a while, sometimes for an extended period, either A, to flush out the hot capital, or B, just to provide some means of folks selling their winners and losers and all those kinds of things that are sitting out there. It's very, very important for that to happen. So just offering that up as a point of, let's say, concern, But also, just as a point of caution, evaluate your portfolio, make your decisions for the right reasons. Friends, as always, I appreciate so much you hanging with us here on Dollars and Cents, presented by North Main Financial. We're going to come back next week here on WSIC at 4 o'clock. See you then.
Better than ever before. WSIC, Statesville, W290DK Mooresville, W260